Welcome, everyone. I hope that you're all able to find us eventually. It looks a little crooked, though. I guess we don't want it to crooked. There we go. Sorry for all the technical difficulties today. Seems like the universe is throwing a lot at us. So if you realize we had to send out a new link for you. So if you didn't get to the link on time, and you'll be seeing this on a recording, I apologize for this. The camera wasn't coming out, so now we have it right. So let us start with a chant, and we'll go into our devotion. Om Sato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness unto light. Lead us from death to mortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. So, what we wanted to talk about, I just returned from a long stay in South India. And let's see here. And I thought it would be kind of interesting to share with everyone the wisdom of the South and how it kind of also very well and kind of interestingly connects with Thakur's Sri Ramakrishna's teachings. So I thought that it would be kind of interesting. And for those of you who may not know this, and some of you do, and some of you know more about South India than I do, perhaps, but I've been now going for 3 years to Tirumalai, which is the town where Sri Ramana's ashram is, Arunachala Mountain, the sacred mountain. We've got some things carved from Arunachala Mountain here on the altar, some tunic pieces that the people that have lived generations on the mountain and from this living Shiva have made some devotional offerings. We've got a gnome on Arunachala Mountain. We also have Ramana Maharshi and Luther Babaji. They're all made out of the same material. The South is a Tamil-based tradition, and their scriptures are basically Tamil. And they have a lineage. There's over 100 siddhas in the South, of which 18 are the most, prime focus of most of the teachings. And each of these siddhas has written either poetry, songs, or a treatise on different subjects, and some of them quite extensive. And a siddha basically means a person who has overcome all duality. Some of them have, they say, have retained a body for out, the rest of the Earth cycle. So there's actually, they say, living siddhas that have kept their body and are able to kind of have immortality in that sense. That's one of their traditions. But the treatises themselves are very, very interesting, and the teachings are very interesting. They're that juxtaposed with the teachings from the North, which are in Sanskrit and have an ancient tradition also. And they say basically both are very ancient. You can argue who's older, but they're both revered and much predating Christianity and Judaism and all of these religions that are kind of prevalent, of course, Islam. All these are latecomers to the picture versus the Tamil and the Sanskrit traditions. And a lot of us are really familiar, or some of you guys, of course, are very familiar. Swamis are extremely familiar with the Sanskrit tradition of the Vedas and the Upanishads and all of these things written in Sanskrit from the North and Central India. And they're amazing. And so they talk about the world, they talk about what being is and how to reach, what creation is and how we fit into that and how we can kind of connect ourselves again, understand who we are and relieve suffering and overcome all the dualities and delusion and pain that's inherent in having a physical body and being in a world. And it's an amazing treatise on all of these things. And there's many paths to the Vedas onto reconnecting ourselves with that truth of our being, of that great, the great substance or God, however we want to call that, or by a name, by a beautiful name, Krishna, Mahakali, Sardama, Srama Krishna. All of these things are a part of that in the tradition. But the Tamil tradition is actually very interesting too. And by the way, in the North, you have the Vedas, you have a discipline called Ayurveda. that comes from there, which is a treatise on medicine and how the body is healed and maintained and kept younger and free from limitations and so on. So the Ayurvedic traditions are actually becoming more common now. They're here in America, and you see a lot of people where you can buy Ayurvedic medicines in some shops and so on, or ordered online. Now in the South, in the Tamil tradition, some of these siddhas actually have full treatises on medicine, and a whole siddha medicine, siddha varma medicine has been created from this. And so they have actually a very different approach to their medicine. It's not just herbs and different herbs, but it's actually decoctions that they make from materials. And some things inherently from them, they would start with something poisonous, and they would have a secret alchemy to take the poison from this. Like, for example, mercury is a common treatment for a mixture, part of some medicines. If you take mercury by itself, you die. But when they have it in the medicines, what they do is they have some special alchemy decoction that they do, that they can take the poison out of the substance and keep just what's purely healing. And their philosophy is that everything contains both healing and poisonous attributes. That there's no ultimate singularity there. But you can take the poisonous, the non-real essence out of these things, and what's left is what's pure. And so this is kind of repeated in all of the traditions of Tamil in the South, and most of the scriptures are in Tamil. A few are in other languages. But so some of these things I thought I'd talk about and juxtapose them with Sri Ramakrishna, because at the end, what I really found was something very beautiful and something very profound that connected the two ultimate realities of Sri Ramakrishna and what the Siddha lineages are teaching us. They basically connect very well at the end, and I'll show that at the end here. So keep you in suspense just a little bit. So here, this is one thing from Sri Ramakrishna. He said, when a bhakta mentioned tapasya, Thakur said, Amrit narrates it very nicely. A person has lit a fire after the whole botheration of collecting firewood and straw. Now tell me, can many others not warm themselves of that fire? In other words, he has lit the fire. Those who put their faith in him will not have to do anything. They will get the benefit of Guru's tapasya. So this is the kind of the blessings of the north of Sri Ramakrishna. This is from the Gita. Such self-realized souls have nothing to gain or lose either in discharging or renouncing their duties, nor do they need to depend on other living beings to fulfill their self-interest. So this is kind of a surrender subject, that we see very, very clearly from the Thakur's teachings and from the different teachings. Here's Ananda Moima. The endeavor is to awaken to his real nature is man's duty as a human being. With earnestness, love, and goodwill, carry out life's everyday duties and try to elevate yourself step by step. In all human activities, let there be a live contact with the divine, and you will not have to leave off anything. Your will will be done well, and you will be on the right track to find the master. Just as a mother nourishes her child with all possible care and affection, and makes him grow up into a healthy boy and a handsome youth, so you will find the subtle touches of the Divine Mother shaping your inner life and making you reach your full height and stature. Whatever work you have to do it with a singleness of purpose, with all the simplicity, contentment, and joy you are capable of. Thus only will you be able to reap the best fruit of work. In fullness of time, the dry leaves of life will naturally drop off with new shoots sprouting forth. And that's very beautiful. And this is something I was talking about taking the poison out of medicine. This is interesting. Thakur says, one attains the vision of God only when Mahamaya steps aside from the door. What you need is the grace of Mahamaya. That is why God's power is worshipped. You see, God is so very near, and yet yet one does not know him because Mahamaya stands between. So this whole idea that there is divinity inside the soul, inside our being, and there's just something that has covered this, or some poison somehow, as they call it in the South, that has kind of infiltrated this, and that just needs to be removed. And then it's actually a medicine. It's pure. It's beautiful. It's actually healing in the medicine traditions. So what the Siddhas teach is not so much, they have a beautiful, kind of different manifestations of divinity that you'll see. You'll see the Siddhas. Here's a Siddha Tirumular. I'm going to talk about his life. I'll read a little something about him. The Siddhas are worshipped as the connection, but the Siddhas are basically a pattern that they wish to attain, to reach. And the Siddhas are there to be able to show the way. So that you see that this is kind of the tradition that they have there. They have also Shakti, and they have Shiva as well that they worship. They consider Arunachala mountain be alive, a living being of Shiva. So that mountain is actually the living Shiva to the devotees. And it's very powerful, I tell you. If you go there and you go on the mountain, and next week or the week after, what we'll do is we'll do a video of all the pictures of in South India, and you can take the trip along with me. I wasn't able to prepare it obviously for today. But what was interesting was this, is that you have Shiva and Shakti, and you also have a lot of Shiva images of pureness and transcendent divinity that is, for example, the Arunachala mountain. But something that they have very also much is Nataraja, which is the dancing Shiva. And that's something kind of exclusive. It's a little different than what we can kind of think about. So let's break this down just a little bit and think about how we're normally thinking about this by looking at Shiva and Ma Kali. And of course, Ma Kali has Shiva prone below her, kind of just as the substratum. We consider Shiva to be the substratum, the awareness of all things. That is not independent on and not really moved or touched in any way, influenced by any kind of creation, any kind of duality, any kind of time. So this Shiva consciousness, this ultimate consciousness, is beyond all dualities, beyond anything that is even comprehensible from us. It's the substratum of everything, substratum of awareness. And out of this Shiva consciousness, out of this substratum, emerges Shakti. And Shakti creates the world. And she creates the images, the living beings, all duality, light and darkness. And that's why both parts of the nature are in Ma Kali and the statue. You have the good and the nasty parts of the creation that are there. And she represents both in balance, but also she's the grand savior too. She can pull us out of this illusion, and we can put our faith into her, and so we can be lifted from delusion and from this eternal struggle, it seems, of this duality. So this is kind of the way that you see the iconography of Shiva and Shakti. And Swami Shankara, really, if you read his writings, it's pretty absolute there too. He says the world itself is an illusion. Everything that you can see, taste, touch, feel, hear, think, all these things are dreams. Neti, I'm not this, not this, not this. And if you read Shankara's writings on the subject, you really get the point that I am that one awareness, I transcend everything, and the world doesn't have to touch me. I am completely free of it. I have no time, I have no limits. And this is where he's telling us to lead our awareness, to train ourselves like this, that we are free beings. We are beyond all of these things. And so a lot of, in India times, in more ancient times and more recent times, there was that kind of those who worshipped Shakti and those who really worshipped Shiva. And they basically didn't connect sometimes, because if those who are worshiping Shakti, they don't really care about this infinity. They don't want to melt in everything. They want to just worship and love the divinity of the divine in whatever form that they love. So if they love Ma Kali, if they love Sri Krishna, if they love Ramakrishna, they're content with that. They don't want to be bothered, and so they love to put flowers and they love to have devotion. The Shivites, of course, are more interested in this transcendental consciousness, this unity consciousness, Advaita, as that we call it. So non-dualism. So going beyond the world, being able to see that the world is a dream, and being free from it, not having any karmas, not having any death to the world, not being dragged into anything that we don't want to have, not having pain, not seeing others in pain. All of these things are obviously illogical. And so we had kind of a two-part situation going on in a lot of the teachings. And like I said, they really didn't see eye to eye because they had a different emphasis. But what we see with Ramakrishna is he said something very beautiful. He said, Ma Kali is one with the highest Brahman. He said it's like milk in its whiteness, snake in its wiggling motion, a flower in its fragrance. He said one is the same as the other. Ma Kali and Shiva, the ultimate, are one and the same, highest Brahman. Now that's kind of a little different. Swami Medinand does a lot of lectures and wrote books on Vijnana, because this is something that Thakur, Swami Sri Ramakrishna had talked about. He said, Jnana is like being able to see that truth, but Vijnana is being intimate with that truth, being able to talk and laugh with that truth and enjoy it. He said, I eat, drink, and be merry. That's the way he put it. And so he kind of said that it's a instead of having this duality of the world and Shiva, or ultimate awareness, it kind of is a unity again in Vijnana. And so this Vijnana is the world is Brahman, worshiping the world as Brahman is service, and all these things that Swami Vivekananda taught. And of course, Swami Vivekananda was very much Vijnani, because he saw the world. He wanted to serve the world as Brahman. He didn't want to sit in a cave and just melt into nothingness. He wanted to when he was younger, but later on he got over that. So this idea that Shiva and Shakti, this Vijnana idea, it was never really presented until Sri Ramakrishna in the Vedic Sanskrit terms, was not really kind of thought of that way before Sri Ramakrishna kind of really married this idea that the world is Brahman. This whole thing is frozen Brahman, and that we can enjoy it, but as God, not in the attachments to it, not as ownership or anything like that. So it creates the supreme non-attachment to just being in Brahman, whether you have unlimited awareness or whether you're here in this world, it's exactly the same. And so it's a beautiful healing thing. He said all paths lead to this ultimate realization of all of these things are exactly the same. The steps, as well as the roof of the path, is the same substance. He said going up the stairs into consciousness to the highest state of jnana, where you are one with Brahman, and there's this absolute. Then when you look back down at the staircase that you took, you see that all those steps are made of the same substance as that eternal that you reach at the highest levels of Brahman and realization. And so this is something that is kind of what Sri Ramakrishna brought in, very different. It's a very profound thing and subtle thing that really could make a big difference. Because if you look at India, a lot of this, they kind of didn't put a lot of importance in the world. They thought that God was the most important thing, and transcending this world was all they wanted to do. And so there really wasn't the focus on sciences and things back in certain periods of time of India. And they lost step with the rest of the world in that sense. And so they were kind of suffering because of that, that kind of misunderstanding of the teachings of Shankara and that. Whereas the West was only focused on the material world, they didn't care about anything else. They went ahead and just worship the world to get something out of it. But they did have some results because of that, because they did see the world and they saw value in the world, and so they were able to unlock some of the secrets of the world. And so India kind of fell behind times, and Swami Vivekananda really wanted to shake India up and make her the great India that always was in history. And so this is the idea of Sri Ramakrishna's Vijnana, really balances that imbalance. It makes things right, and it could really revitalize the whole Indian psyche. And so Swami Vivekananda was really committed to that, gave his life for that. And that's why he didn't talk about Sri Ramakrishna in the West. He talked about the paths of yoga, of jnana, of Vedanta, the Vedas. So now let's look at Nataraja when we come to India, in the South Indian. They don't also separate Shiva and Shakti. Nataraja is Shiva dancing the dance of creation. They don't see it as a separate being, but they see it as that one divine awareness of Brahman creating all of this. He's dancing in creation. Just like what Sri Ramakrishna described, is that this is all Brahma. When Narendra was first given the divine touch of Sri Ramakrishna, he saw everything as Brahma. He had to hit his head against the railings to see if they were real or not. But he saw everything was divine. Everything was made of that same divinity, that's divine awareness. Everything was aware and alive. And so that's basically exactly the same point that Nataraja is showing in the dancing Shiva. And it's a very interesting kind of a subtle current that's in the Southern teachings. So I just, when that kind of came up and it hit me, I just had to share it, because those who are Ramakrishna devotees really will appreciate the fact that it really links up with other teachings that are in India, in ancient India. And we'll talk more about Nataraja and some of the saints. We don't want to get too long into a lecture on this, but there's a lot of interesting things from the South that I'll share. And I'll show you pictures, and I'll show you what the meanings of those are. But I thought I'd just read a little history of Siddha Thirumular. So these are the Siddhas of the South India. And I've got a beautiful picture in Shishendra Swami's ashram. There's a beautiful little side temple, and they have a lot of the Siddhas are there. But guess who else is on the dais? Sri Ramakrishna is also sitting there, on the left side in the rows of all the Siddhas. So it's so beautiful how these things are all accepted and blended together, and it's so wonderful. So I have a picture of Sri Ramakrishna's Murti there in that temple. So I thought it was really nice. And then of course we do have an ashram about 45 minutes from Arunachalam. So I was invited, I just have not gotten a chance to get there yet. But one of these trips I definitely will take them up on their offer and go and stay for a couple of days there. So this is Thirumular, and this is Thirumular's tale begins with the sage Sundara Napar, whose heart was touched by the cries of cows. When he chanced upon a herd of cows, he realized they were grieving for their deceased herdsman, Mulan. Overcome by empathy, he exchanged bodies with Mulan to guide the cows back home safely. Upon returning, he found his own body missing from where he had left it, safely hidden in the trunk of a tree. Soon, with the help of his guru, he realized that this was God's intention, and thus Siddha Thirumular was born. It is because of this blended identity that Thirumular's verses have a very down-to-earth quality. His basic philosophy is pure spiritual love for the Lord Shiva, with no expectations or transactions, and without bargaining for results. He even wrote Thirumantrathiyam to express his love and gratitude to his guru, Nandi Devar. Siddha Thirumular's story tells us that life and spirituality are not separate from each other. The spiritual journey begins when you seek guidance. You seek needed guidance. A guru is the bridge between us and life, a guiding force who has your back. Let the world experience the same bliss as I have experienced, Siddha Thirumular has said. Situations to seek guidance from the Siddha Thirumular. When you feel alone and lost, seeking guidance and support. When Siddha Bogar was faced with a very tough situation, he prayed to Siddha Thirumular for help to connect you with your roots or lineage. And one thing that is very inherent in the South Siddha path is they talk about us, because remember they have dancing Shiva, so they see everything as divine. And they say the microcosm and the macrocosm are the same. And this is what the Vedas say too. But they have something that's kind of interesting in that they tell us to ground ourselves. Don't try to go beyond your body. Don't try to, because what they say is that by doing that, we lose our grounding, we lose our center, and we lose our orientation to be able to understand the divinity that is right here within our bodies. They say our DNA is the very divine essence. Within our own DNA is the divine essence. So grounding yourselves, that's why they see the body as sacred. And that's why I think you see some of the eternal incarnations, the non-dying, incarnations, the eternal bodies that you see in some of the stories of the South. You don't see that so much in the North. You see that Krishna gave up his body, and Rama gave up his body, and all these, but you don't see too many incarnations that just stayed in the body for forever as an eternal incarnation in this world. So it's something that they really do see as the world and divinity are not really separated in the South. So that's why I was saying that they use some things that aren't considered pure in Ayurveda. You're looking at certain herbs that are really grown in the Himalayas, or are really rare, and all these beautiful things that are there that have just inherent healing properties, and they're certainly there. But in the South, they look at the worst things, and out of those, they find healing medicines. And it's a very interesting thing to think about, how we look at our life. I always find that blending all of these things together is a wonderful, wonderful gift. If you learn from a tradition like we have in the Vedas and the Upanishads, and then the Ayurvedic traditions and all these, and you also take in what they have from the South, where they have a different kind of emphasis, a different way of seeing these things. And when you find at the end, they kind of connect, like when Thakur's talking about Vijnana, and you see the dancing Shiva, kind of a representation of what he's talking about. You have to laugh and just be so joyful, because this whole big thing is one God's play, one divine hand in all of it. And so there's not duality, there's not differences. But that's why I love India, because you just find more and more to be amazed by. You just think when you're figuring it out, you really understood it, then you come upon something that makes you really expand yourself even more. And so I just thought I'd share that with you. I did take a class for 3 years now, 3 separate times there in India, on the Siddha traditions in practical terms by a Siddha teacher there. He's kind of underground. Somehow I got connected to him through a friend of mine. And it's beautiful teachings, and I can share some of it. He's given us permission to share some of it, and I'll share a little bits and bobs. A lot of it in the beginning is getting us to ground ourselves, learning how to just breathe again, teaching us to breathe naturally and rhythmically, and instead of having tension and things that are blocking all of that natural flow. And they say when you see a baby breathing, it's a natural breath. After a while, you start seeing that our breath is anything but natural at any time of the day or night. This is something that just kind of happens. And so they just kind of center you a lot of times. And a lot of the beginning kind of practices that they teach is just centering practices. They say that the forward projection practices, like we're praying to something, or we're trying to see something with third eye, or we're trying to see Ma, or Thakur is one approach, but they say the other is just to actually not have a projection, not project anything, just be as you are, like Sri Ramana would say. And so they actually have some meditations with they call it posterior sense, where you're actually kind of not focusing, but also being aware of your back. So it takes you away from this, this willful kind of projection and stress and strain and making more tension. From even our spiritual paths might create that. If we really feel the tension in our spiritual path, now Sri Krishna said you have to have longing for God, yes. But, what we find is sometimes it's imbalanced. And, of course, some of us might be able to be Thakur and scratch your head on the ground until Divine Mother appears. But otherwise, it would kind of destroy most of us. So, what they're talking about is being able to just have that state of awareness of just feeling and being and sensing, going into deep meditation. It's the same end as the niyama, as the siddha paths. The yogic paths, where you have, yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, which is kind of the internalization. That internalization is what they achieve by these simple things of being aware of the posterior of your back, and just being aware of it. It's beautiful. So I found it very, very wonderful and very kind of connecting to what we do here. So I just thought I'd share a little bit of that with you. Okay, so now why don't we just sing to Sri Krishna? Does that sound like a good idea? Or do you want to do? We can do him to Brahma first, since we're talking about all is Brahma and dancing Shivas and Thakur. We'll sing him to Brahma first, if that's okay. And then we'll do a short meditation and we'll finish. And we'll do that meditation that we've initiated where Soham. So we'll kind of use this of watching the breath, but not controlling it. This is very in harmony with the Siddhapat. They have different connections where you watch the breath also. But with this, we'll just chant so, so on the in-breath, on the exhale, just like we did before. And we'll just do a couple of deep breaths when we've done with chanting. Okay? So we'll do Srimati Brahma, then we'll do Ramakrishna Sharanam, and then we'll do our meditation. Or do you want to do Ramakrishna Sharanam after the meditation? What do you do? Either? Okay. Happy to take suggestions. Okay. I guess this got changed. Here. Something happened to this. I got a big rattling on it. Well, I don't know if something might have happened to the harmonium while it's gone. It's got some kind of a buzz now. Hopefully you can do this. Hopefully it's not bugging. Ramanandam Paramashikaram Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvadvatitam Tadana Sadisham Tatvamasya Dilasyam Ekam Nityam Vimalam Achalam Sarvadi Sashibhutam Kavaditam Gunahitam Sadguru Namami Sadguru Namami Ramanandam Paramashikaram Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvadvatitam Tadana Sadisham Tatvamasya Dilasyam Ekam Nityam Vimalam Achalam Sarvadi Sashibhutam Avaditam Sri Gunahitam Sadguru Tam Namami Sadguru Tam Namami full of bliss, giving joy, transcendent of higher knowledge, the above, clear as the heavens, known to all as thou art, that he is pure, permanent, unmoving, the everlasting, sincere, above, far, far beyond qualities and power. Guru Lord, I bow to thee. Guru Lord, I bow to thee. Guru Lord, I bow to thee. Okay. So we'll do a little bit of a meditation and we'll finish with Ramakrishna Sharanam then. And that'll be a nice ending. If the rattles or not. So, as I said, when we're going to just take 3 deep breaths, and then on the third exhalation, just watch the breath. Let it come naturally. Don't try to control it. Just observe it. Let it come in naturally. When it does, you chant so. When it goes out naturally, hum. So hum, I am He. With every breath, we're affirming that truth. I am He. So we'll do this breath. Inhale with the nose twice. Hold it and exhale with the mouth. And you need to hear it in order for it to be effective. So really deep breathe. Do the breath deeply, and so we can hear it as well, all 3 times together, and then just let it go, and we'll just be finished, okay? So we'll start with an inhale. Hold. Exhale through the mouth. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. One more time. Inhale. Exhale. Watch the breath and chant so. Krishna Sharanam, Rama Krishna Sharanam, Rama Krishna Sharanam, Sharanye, Prabhu Rama Krishna Sharanam, Rama Krishna Sharanam, Rama Krishna Sharanam, Sharanye. Kripa hi kevalam, Kripa hi kevalam, Kripa hi kevalam, Haranye. Kripa hi kevalam, Kripa hi kevalam, Kripa hi kevalam, Sharanye Prabhu. Rama Krishna Sharanam, Rama Krishna Sharanam, Rama Krishna Sharanam, Sharanye Prabhu. Rama Krishna Sharanam, Rama Krishna Sharanam, Rama Krishna Sharanam, Sharanye. Sharanagatuham, 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 Vahye. Sharanagatuham, 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 Vahye. Jai Jai Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Sharanye Prabhu. Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Sharanye. Namo Sri Gurave, Namo Sri Gurave, Namo Sri Gurave, Namo Namo. Namo Sri Gurave, Namo Sri Gurave, Namo Sri Gurave, Namo Namo. Jai Jai Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Sharanye Prabhu. Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Sharanye. Ram Krishna, Jaya Jaya Ram Krishna, 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 Ram Krishna, Jaya Jaya Ram Krishna. Ram Krishna, Jaya Jaya Ram. Ram Krishna, Jaya Jaya Ram Krishna. Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Sharanye Prabhu. Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Sharanye. Kripahi Kevalam, Kripahi Kevalam, Charanye. Kripahi Kevalam, Kripahi Kevalam, Kripahi Kevalam, Charanye. Jai Jai Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Charanye Prabhu. Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Sharanye. Sharanagatuham, 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 Vande. Sharanagatuham, 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 Vande. Jai Jai Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Sharanye Prabhu. Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Sharanye. Namo Sri Gurave, Namo Sri Gurave, Namo Sri Gurave, Namo Namo. Namo Sri Gurave, Namo Sri Gurave, Namo Sri Gurave, Namo Namo. Jai Jai Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Sharanye Prabhu. Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ramakrishna Sharanam Sharanye. Ramakrishna Jaya Jaya Ramakrishna 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 Jaya Jaya 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 Ramakrishna Jaya Jaya Ramakrishna Sharanam Ramakrishna Sharanam Ramakrishna Sharanam Sharanam. Thank you for coming. And we want to remind everybody that Swami is coming this Wednesday, and his class, his talk is going to be starting at 6 o'clock, and we'll start. We start puja at 6 o'clock. 7 o'clock is his talk, and his talk is. Please excuse me for being a little out of it. I'm still jet lagged from my trip. I just got back a couple of days ago. 6 o'clock would be the puja, and then the arti, and then 7 p.m. will be his talk. Okay, and his talk is going to be the archetypal patterns in the universe. Archetypal patterns in the universe. So that sounds like a wonderful talk. So we'll see you all here at the center. Come for 6 o'clock. We'll start with our arti.
5 o'clock arti? Yeah,
Swamiji
prefers that.
Who does?
Atma Vidyananda. He always does at 5 o'clock.
Okay. We used to do it 6, no?
No, in fact, he said, "Why has Jeff put it further?"
Okay, well, we're live, so we'll do it at 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock RT, 6 o'clock his talk.
Good. Yes,
Okay, we're live. Let me turn this off first. Hello, how are you?